Okay. Let me just set this up really fast. Give me 1 second. Actually, I don't need it too big, do I? Yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's good, okay. Boom. What can I put? You guys actually must know Bembecito. So I'll just leave Bembecito there for you guys. Okay. So, let me know if the music is too loud. But I think that's fine. Now, so a lot of my godchildren, a lot of clients that aren't my godchildren, but, you know, have asked me to imbue them with some knowledge so that they can walk Vudu as one should. And amongst, you know, the upbringing of a lot of urban black and brown people who grew up Christian, you know, they were taught that with Christianity, you can still be a Christian outside of the church. So basically, your journey with God is every step of the way and can definitely be done. For those of you that left Christianity, a lot of you bumped first with Wicca. And in Wicca, there's a lot of solitary practitioner thing, you know, or that kind of mentality going on. And with the now conscious community of, you know, light workers, a lot of people believe a lot in working alone. So there's a lot of years of programming where people have constantly just told themselves that they can do anything or practice any spirituality, and it shouldn't be about community, or it shouldn't at least be necessary to depend on a community. And that's where Vudu, is like a block for a lot of people. It's like a wall for a lot of people, because Vudu is not about self. It's not just about, you know, just you can practice this on your own. It's always going to be about community. You know what I mean? And if you're not one for community, it's never going to work for you. And for those that have walked Vudu, especially my godchildren, you know the benefits of having a community that you can lean on, that you can cry to, that won't judge you, that is, you know, sharing the same space, holding space for you, and practicing the same spirituality as you, going down the same journey as you. So I'm here to enlighten all of my godchildren, all of my customers, all of my clients, and especially for anyone that's viewing, how can you be a good servitor? Now, a few of the things that I'm not going to talk about are provided in my book because I hate repeating myself. Including my godchildren know me, I hate repeating myself. If I said it once, that's the only time I'm going to say it. So, but for this, I am going to repeat that a lot of the information that I give you guys is in this book, and what is sacred in the religion will never be published in a book. I hold oath to that. You know, during my journey in Vudu and during my initiatory process, I do hold certain oaths where I don't even teach certain people certain things, and there are things that I do not publish in books at all. You know, where I do tell people. So let's get right into it. One of the things that, you know, is important for everyone, especially, and it's just something that I would love for everyone to realize. If you're black, if you're brown, this is especially a calling out to you. Even in our own communities, we can all resonate with the fact that sometimes we feel rejected from our own black and brown communities. It doesn't matter if you're African American, Puerto Rican, Dominican, or even Haitian. Sometimes the morals of the community can make you feel shunned out, can make you feel like you don't fit in, or like you can't even tell your family members or certain people in your community what you're going through, because you're going to be met with, you know, judgment, right? In voodoo, it's totally not like that. But that kind of mentality can make you feel like you can't trust people and make you feel a bit resentful about a community of worshipers, and especially a religion like voodoo. So I encourage anyone that is black and brown trying to find their roots to open yourselves up to a community that you may not know at all, which is voodoo. Okay, so as a servitor, if you really want to practice, you know, voodoo as you should, be open to a community of people or practitioners that are just seeking God just as much as you are. You know what I mean? Because that's ultimately what voodoo is about. Walking, you know, towards God, seeking enlightenment, seeking peace, and seeking balance in one's life by means of ensuring that our prosperity is right, that our livelihood is right, that our love life is right. And that's another thing that I'm going to talk about maybe in another video, because a lot of people don't understand, you know, what is the purpose of voodoo and why we walk voodoo. But that's a video for another topic. I'm just talking about how you can be a good servitor to both your loa and to your community. So one of the things that I mentioned in the book on chapter 11, there is spiritual discipline. A lot of people that didn't take Christianity serious, and especially that walked Wicca, there wasn't a huge emphasis on spiritual discipline. And for a lot of people, spiritual discipline sounds like someone telling you authoritatively, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to be punished. You know, a lot of people have this idea that spiritual discipline is like, if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. Kind of like how Christianity taught us to see spirituality. And in voodoo, that's not the case. In fact, spiritual discipline is for you to come closer to your loa so that you don't punish yourself. Because a lot of people don't understand that the loa are actually not always the ones that punish us. It is we that punish ourselves when we don't obey or listen to the loa. So when it comes to spiritual discipline, it is about being sincere about why you're walking voodoo, and then walking voodoo the right way by what your loa are telling you to do. You know, you have to walk voodoo, period. If you're not going to walk it the right way, just don't walk it at all. Because spiritual discipline is one of those things where it is providing you a way to walk without having to trip. You know what I mean? And a community of servitors are there to guide you so that you don't have to walk that walk alone. You understand? So there's a lot of beauty in spiritual discipline, and there is a lot of beauty in community. And I, as a godfather, as well as a spiritual teacher, I emphasize that a lot because I ensure a safe space for everyone, whether you're heterosexual, gay, straight, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, but I still make a huge emphasis on respecting, you know, the spiritual path, and especially spiritual discipline. So that's one of the things that is necessary for everyone. Spiritual discipline is also not about, you know, telling you what to do in the sense of like, oh, you can't, for example, you can't have sex with this person. Spiritual discipline is a bit above sex. You know what I mean? However, it does include sex. So for example, in spiritual discipline, you understand that as a witch, you are an empath. And as the servitor of the loa, you receive energies. Just as you can, if you can feel the energies of the loa, then you can also feel the energies of other people. Therefore, you are coming into enlightenment to realize that you are a spirit in a body. You understand? And this spirit is only animated by a body. So as a shell, you can also take in energies. Just as much as a caballo de misterio is destined to take on, you know, a loa into the body. So when you have sex with certain people, you are taking in this energy. You are taking in that person's energy, especially per thrust, right? With the pelvis of the person penetrating, or if you're penetrating someone else, person is sending energy back, you are sending energy forward, you're exchanging energy. So if this person is, you know, perhaps sexually traumatized, or they have been, you know, through something, you are sharing this energy with this person. Perhaps you may be healing, but you're also taking that pain with you. You understand? So as a servitor of loa, when you are walking voodoo, you must walk correctly to know who you're sleeping with. And it's not about, oh, you can't enjoy a sex life. It is about enjoying a sex life a safe way. You know, after sex, especially if you're just having casual sex, it is about also cleansing yourself before you approach the altar. It is also about, you know, not approaching the altar directly after sex, because that energy is not yours entirely. You have just shared and partaken energy with someone else. So to answer Pillow Pet's question, how do you connect with your Loa? This is one of the ways. This entire live is dedicated to that. So you'll find plenty of answers before you ask questions. And if you still have questions, definitely feel free to leave the comments below, because I'm going to answer everyone's questions today, because I'm opening this video up to YouTube directly after. So now another thing that I want to mention that isn't in the book, being a spiritual servitor and how you can also be a good servitor is when you offer things, you have two options to do with them. If you're offering to your Loa, for example, because a lot of people don't have a personal relationship with their Loa. Sometimes they feel like they can just ask for money and love. No. You ask for personal things, you know. And I try to encourage all of my godchildren to do the same. When you are building a relationship with your Loa, they know your life, okay? If you're trying to lose weight, that is important to them, okay? If you're trying to beat cancer, that is important to them. If you have a mother that is sick, that is important to them. If you have, you know, a homelessness issue, that is important to the Loa. You know what I mean? You don't just have to come up to them when you want love or when you just want, you know, money. Because a lot of people, they go on Google and they try to research the Loa. They see that the Loa stands for this, this, and this, and they only think that they can approach the Loa for just that. No, Loa is much more. Spirit is always much more. Do not box the Loa in. I've had, you know, for example, my experiences with Martha. They say Martha's a good dominator for men. Number one, I've never asked her to do that for me. I can do that myself. But what Martha has done for me is, you know, she's liberated me from death. She's liberated me from illness. She has healed me. You know, every single petition that I've asked her for, she's done for me, whether it was to get quick cash or to resolve a debt. You know, like, and she's not even known for things like that. But these are, again, our experiences that as a good servitor, you learn to have with them. Another thing that you can do is, you know, don't be shy when you come up to them, you know, and I'm not talking about during ceremony. I'm talking about when you have your personal altar. Do not be shy to come up to them, always with respect, however, meaning you do not just get naked. And that's another conversation that I was having with my godchild, and I would like to also mention why we do not approach the altar naked. How does one approach having sex in their space while having altars in their room? I came in when you finished. Oh, perfect. Okay, so before I get into clothing and the altar and why you approach with respect by wearing clothes, I'm definitely going to target this question. So I personally, you know, I share my bedroom with my spirits due to space and also due to religious, you know, other people in the home living with me also. They have their, you know, beliefs and I have mine, and they respect mine. So there's just sometimes the Loa understand that if they want their own space, and I always tell them this too, y'all want your own space, get me an apartment big as fuck for the both of us. Okay, like more than 2 bedrooms if you want your own little room, because I would like mine and, you know, to have a roommate or a partner, whatever the case may be. But that is also something that you can tell your Loa. If they feel like they need to have their own space, tell your Loa at the altar, I have no problem giving you your own room or your own space as long as you bring me what I need to give that to you. You know what I mean? So, and that's something that's still in the works. You know what I mean? But when you are having sex, my altar is unfortunately too big for me to cover it. So what I do out of respect is I don't light any candles. If there's any candles lit right before sex, I turn them off. But when my altar was smaller, and this is something that a lot of people in the religion do, is if they're sharing space with their partner in the altar room and they're having sex, cover it all up with white cloth. Meaning, it could be a white curtain, it could be a white scarf, it could be a white, you know, altar cloth, whatever it is, but you can cover it in white. Just to separate, you know, that boundary. Now, I always do this, however, with my ancestor altar. Just to, it's basically like, you know, you're going into the other room. That's pretty much what that is doing. You're basically like letting them know, okay, I need my privacy, I need my space. Okay, however, I have heard certain people tell me that although they do that, their spirits still be moving shit around and be tapping the person when they don't want them having sex. You know, that's a whole nother issue, but this is just out of respect, and it's what I do. I wouldn't leave anything lit. If I have any services open and out in the open, I would close them or cover them. What else? If I have any offerings, I would also cover those too, you know, because I don't want those to be, I don't want to say contaminated, but also be tapped in with, you know, what I'm doing in the bedroom. So it's just something that you can do too. I don't want you guys to be afraid to think like, oh, sex is bad, and, you know, I should hide my body and, you know, hide my sex life to my loa, but it is about respect and that policy of boundary. You know what I mean? Because they should not be involved in your sex life just as much as you shouldn't be involved in their sex life. You know what I mean? It's just that kind of mentality out of respect. You are respecting your elders by covering your altar to let them know, I'm having my privacy. And they understand, you know, they understand you're a grown-ass person. If you got to get it on, you got to get it on. You know, you're still a human. But it is also about that respect that they're no longer alive. So as to just separate those energies, you just cover up your altar. But to get back as to, and this ties into directly approaching the altar with respect, the reason why we wear clothing is because we understand that the Loa are just like our parents, they're just like our godparents. They're our oldest spiritual godparents. If they are guiding you, they are your spiritual godparents, especially if you have received them on your head. When you have a Loa throned on your head, you know what I mean, they are your spiritual godparents, so you always want to approach them as you would approach an elder, which is you do not approach your elders naked just as much as you would not approach your grandparents naked. You always approach with clothing. Spirits also, especially our Loa, always approach us in dreams with clothing. There isn't a negative connotation behind nudity. It is just simply about respect. And throughout all cultures, anyone that was married or, you know, taken or in a partnership, at least, you know, the genitals were clothed or closed off to represent that, you know, like, this is just the boundary, this is just the respect. You know what I mean? So, that's one of the ways that as a good servitor, you can approach your altar. It's just out of respect, you wear your clothing. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry too much about shirts. It's just more so about the genitalia area, because there are people, and just like our native African ancestors, they were mostly always shirtless but always covered the bottom. So when it comes to the altar, you still cover, you know, your body parts. Still out of respect, I would say take the effort and make the effort to know that if you want your tops and your body to be respected, just keep that respect with your elders too. Keep that respect with your ancestors too. And there's a huge you know, thing about respecting your elders in the Afro-Taino community. So as with the altar, traditionally we always just wear full garments before approaching the altar, whether that is a sweatshirt like this, okay, I just have the sleeves rolled down, and some like sweatpants. That's it. And you know, sometimes that also gets me like in the mood to like either dance or whatever the case may be. But that's the important thing, and that's the reason why we wear clothing. As spirits, however, because I would like to enjoy or tap into this conversation, one of my godchildren, who's also watching this right now, he asked me, you know, do spirits have genitalia? No, the Loa do not have genitalia. Although when they come down to earth and they mount during a ceremony, they do often make sexual jokes, like a division of Gede. They do make sexual jokes, but oftentimes it is just to lighten the mood, or often to make others feel connected to the Loa, especially much more, and to feel like they're not being judged. But the Loa do not have genitalia. Oftentimes they would make certain jokes and say, you know, like, oh, you know, like for example, Papa Gede always makes jokes about his big ass dick. It's just, you know, how he is as a Loa, okay? There are many Gede that make jokes about their huge penises, and they often use their canes or, you know, certain paraphernalia given to them during ceremonies, especially like long breads or eggplants, and they would use that as jokes. But in all reality, what they're saying is they have a lot of life force in them. They have a lot to give, you know, with life. Because for those of you that don't understand, the alchemy or the alchemical meaning for the penis and the vulva or the vagina, it is both a representation of life force, and the womb being of nurturing and of birthing or creation. So when a Loa jokes around about their big dick, they actually mean that they have a lot of power to give life. You know, as everyone knows that the Gede, although they joke around sexually a lot, they do, out of most Loa, have the power to give life if you are at the brinks of death, or if a child is trying to come into this world, they will assist with that. And that is unlike many other, you know, Loa. So there's a lot of symbolism behind why the Loa are the way that they are, but that goes totally for another video because that is the science of the mysteries, and that is a lot more sacred. Despite, again, to the human mind that doesn't understand spirituality, that would all sound like jokes and like they're just playing around. But to those that have been walking Voodoo for many, many years, you know the spiritual aspect behind the conversation. Because there's always science to everything that they say, and a lot of the things that they say are actually very prophetic. So now another way to be a good servitor is don't waste food, okay? Like, this is something that a lot of people don't know. Like, I've had a few people ask me, yo, what do you do with all the food? You know, like, especially people not part of the religion, they ask, what do you do with the food on the altar? I'm gonna give you guys a great idea, okay? First of all, it's not a bad thing to eat the food that you give them, right? Because especially if you are a caballo de misterio, you are ingesting their energy, right? Or their blessings. But you never eat it after 3 days. If it's been on the altar after 3 days, it will no longer be edible. It is actually a sin to take something after it has been on the altar for more than 3 days. Now, here are a few key points that I recommend you guys, especially if you're offering things. If you are offering something so that they can use that energy to cleanse you or to help you in your life or to get rid of something, you do not eat that. Because they're using that to get rid of something. Now, if something is rotting and you didn't even ask them for it, you're just giving it to them and asking them for their blessing, and within 2 days, because this has happened to me, I gave an orange, brand new orange, in literally less than 2 days, it began rotting on one specific area. And I was just like, you know, I didn't ask for anything, but I was getting sick, I was catching a cold, and the orange just started to rot, and after the whole week was done, I never got sick. But the orange rotted, and I actually wanted to eat that. But no longer could I eat that. So if you start to notice that after a day or two, things abnormally begin to rot, do not eat that. They're actually using it to take something away from you. You understand? Because energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. For those of you that don't understand why we offer fruits and why certain things happen that way, energy cannot be destroyed. Scientifically, it can only be changed or transferred or transformed. So when we offer the Loa certain foods, I just realized I'm talking so much about the science of the mysteries. But this goes into helping you guys understand, so whatever. And it also, yeah, I guess it does go into being a good servitor, because this is why we give foods and this is why you should too. When you give foods, the energy of that especially if you give like round things represent abundance. And also, round things are a hollow shell, especially if they're hollow. It is using that to take in, and it is trapped inside of that hollow thing. Like, I give coconuts when I want to be clean. Not only is that used to, it's hollow to remove something, it is also to trap it inside with the liquid, because as you guys know, water washes away, yada, yada, yada. I went so much into that in this book, okay? So if you want to learn more about the element of water and why it's so heavy and present in the religion, that's why. But continue watching. So, we offer on the table, you know, fruits and a whole bunch of things, and coconuts are for that, to remove energy and to trap it. Now, as a good servitor, you never want to offer processed foods. I've gone into this with a lot of people in Vudu. They're like, oh, well, what can I offer? What can I not offer? You know, listen. I do not offer my spirits anything in plastic. I do not offer my spirits anything that cannot be biodegradable. It is important to understand why I do this and why I teach my children also, my godchildren also not to do this. Number one, what you purchase, what you are buying, should come from the earth and be given back to the earth. You shouldn't buy something processed and destroy the earth, because ultimately you are worshiping Loa that pertains to different parts of the world. Imagine if you buy something with plastic, you are contributing to killing the home of, for example, La Sirene. You are contributing to killing the home of Anaisa, or the rivers, dirtying the rivers, you know what I mean? Or dirtying and hurting the earth. So when I offer my Loa something, I understand that their home is also on the earth. So I do not offer them, processed foods. I do not offer them like fucking burgers. I don't know, like I'm just coming up with shit, but I'm just letting you guys know, if I'm gonna offer them something, I offer them something of substance, of something that comes from the earth, and it's alkaline, as you could say, as whole, so mangoes, pineapples, melons, things like that. And there's not a huge list of things that you have to get them. It is just, you either keep it sweet or you keep it bitter, and it has to come from the earth. And then there's animals, but that's a whole other story. What else? On the altar, you do not involve blood, because that just came to me. As a good servitor, you do not involve blood, meaning not your own and not a human's blood. So let's get into that, why we do not offer blood, and especially women that are on their menses, you do not approach the altar. So there's a reason why. To get you guys to understand why we do not approach the altar under menses, or when we're bleeding, or if you have a gash, or if you are cut, or if you're bleeding anywhere in the body, you do not approach the altar. The reason being is because blood is very hot in energy. It's very lively, you understand? So blood can actually give life to something. So if you're approaching the altar and you're complaining about something, or you're approaching the altar and you're saying, I need help with something, you are actually giving life to what you're asking for. So you are manifesting very dark energy at the altar because you're giving life to what you're saying. You understand? I hope that's clear. If you guys want me to emphasize, I definitely will. There is also the idea that, life is in the blood. Okay, so if you give blood to the loa, you're giving weight, you're giving yourself. It's like giving yourself, you know what I mean? And you don't have to give yourself. There's blood isn't always necessary. It's literally looked upon as necessary for you as a human being to be giving blood to a loa. Like, the fuck are they gonna do with that? Like, you know what I mean? But an animal's blood, is often given because it's like food. It's like, it's a part of the ceremony. It's like they drink the blood, we cook the food, we eat the meat. You know what I mean? That's the only symbol behind that. To answer some of you guys' questions, what's the best way to serve before one gets their investigation done? Simple, the fastest. Number one, you understand that the entire time that you are praying to a statue or an image, you are not actually praying to that saint. In Vudu, we are making our best efforts to, create statues that are designated to the actual loa instead of approaching the Catholic counterparts. However, I don't really think they're ever going to make a actual version of Bele Belkan. I think he's always going to be synchronized with Saint Michael. I think the same thing for Anaisa Pie. I don't think she's ever going to have her own little image, but Martha's come a long way. Metresili is another one that needs her own image. Ogun Balenyo is another one that needs his own image. Candelo has gotten his own. Martha has gotten her own. As her real name, her real name is actually Lubana Filomens. Who else? Sang Elias hasn't even gotten his own statue either. He's still synchronized with Saint Elijah of Mount Carmel. So it's like there's a few loa that still need their stuff, but if you have the Catholic one, that's totally fine. It's not a bad thing. You just get it blessed by a practitioner or a servitor of the loa so that they prepare it, because it's just because you buy it doesn't mean that, it's the loa. You should get it prepared. You know what I mean? This isn't Pokemon Go. You don't just throw the Pokeball by going to the Botanica, you purchase it, and boom, you got the shits. No, you do not have the loa in there. It is actually just a vessel. You know what I mean? That's an empty vessel. So all of my statues have been prepared, by me and by my godparents. So for the meantime, as per you guys are growing, before your investigation, I always recommend everyone, you start with your ancestors first. Do not go to any loa. If you're gonna go to one loa, go to at least Papalegba to open your roads to a spiritual teacher, or for your ancestors to communicate with you better, or even for your loa to get to you and grow a stronger bond. One way that you can do this with Papalegba, offer him things like corn, soda. I give him moringa soda. I give him, tamarindo soda. If I find a Mexican shop, I'll give him jarritos tamarindo. I would give him corn. I would give him native things to my island, so tobacco. I would play music for him, I would give him if I want him to work faster, I'll put cayenne pepper all over that corn. Um, yeah, I mean it's not difficult to really offer things to Legba. He's the sweetest. He's a sweetheart. He's very easy to appease, and the miracles that he does with that. But that's if you want to work with the Loa. First, you work with a Legba. In the meantime, you should be working with your spirit guides and your ancestors. Especially so that they can develop a relationship with you before your investigation. And oftentimes, your investigation makes it a lot easier for you to know who walks with you. Let's get into the questions now regarding their spirit guides. So, the spirit guides, there's a lot of information for people who are trying to reach their relationship with the spirit guides. I do not recommend going on YouTube and trying to figure it out on your own, because a lot of information on YouTube does not practice Afro-Taino spirituality and reaching the spirit guides the way that we do. However, I do recommend definitely, you know, not even going to a botanica, because most botanicas are either, you know, doing their own thing or they don't know much about the bóveda. But a santero definitely knows. Santeros know because they understand the process of the ladder, or rather starting from the bottom up. So you can get a book called Selected Prayers by Allan Kardec. Fabulous. You can also get Ancestor Paths by, I'll tell you right now, Ancestor Paths. So Ancestor Paths by Oba Ilari Aladokun. You Google that shit, you'll find it though. Just look up Ancestor Paths. It's a beautiful little covered book with a personal drawing of, you know, a woman in white. And there is two sides. It's two trees. There is one that's dark and one that's light. Get that book. It's fabulous for reaching your spirit guides and also building a relationship with your ancestors. That is actually the two best books that I would recommend for anybody, at least to get you started. Does it matter the temperatures of water that you use in the cups on your altar? Yes. Fabulous. As a good servitor, you never offer your spirits hot as fuck water. And you always offer just cool water. You do not want to build the temper of your loa and get them pissed. Offering them hot foods boils them. You know, like it gets them ready. It gets them, you know, heated. So if you're going through some serious situations and you offer them hot water, you're asking them to potentially destroy everything, like with vengeance, with heat, you know, bring heat to the home, bring heat to the people. And it won't just be what you're asking for. Trust me, Loa do not just do one thing, they do multiple things. So when you realize the anger of a Loa, it is a series of events. It's not just one thing. It's not just, oh, they help you with this. No, honey, they start to destroy multiple things. Just like when they bless you, they don't just bless one thing. They bless multiple people. They bless multiple things. You know, like they do series. They're very powerful. You know, they don't just do one thing. So I always offer them cool water, especially if things in my life need a cool down. Especially if, you know, the doors of my life are closed or whatever the case may be. And that's just an example. I would always offer them cold water. Especially if I've been feeling like they're trying to mount me out in public, or like, you know, I've been feeling out of myself, like I've been feeling too flirty, or I've been feeling perhaps too workaholic, or I've been feeling perhaps too angry. Cold water on the altar. And I would often give myself or accompany that with a cold shower. In Santeria, it's communication with the Orishas. Beautiful. What about your cuadro espiritual? So your cuadro espiritual ties into everything about your ancestors and your spirit guides. So you learn to work with your spirit guides and your ancestors, and you're pretty much learning to work with your cuadro. Give them a white candle and water. Yes, I have the Selected Prayers book. Fabulous. So to give you guys the final points, last three things to be a good servitor. Number one, watch your mind, watch your mouth, and watch your actions. Three very, very key things. As a servitor, I know that words are integrity and words are power. Meaning, if I say I'm gonna slap the shit out of somebody, I better go slap the shit out of somebody. Because if I don't, my words are actually sort of like losing power or losing, you know, credibility in a spiritual sense. So, and that's just an example. It's like when you go to your altar and you tell them, I'm gonna give you candy if you get me a job. You got the job. Where's the candy? You know what I mean? So in a spiritual sense, you have to watch your words, because essentially, you know, and everybody that knows me knows I don't joke around too much with my friends by like cursing them out or, you know, like saying crazy shit. I don't do that. I don't make fun of people because I know that words from a servitor, they leave scars, okay? And they can be lifelong scars. So as a servitor, you never want to talk to your friends in a jokingly disrespectful manner. I do not joke with my friends like that, and I do not allow for it to be done to me. I do not, as a servitor, you know, play with my friends' lives. So I do not say, oh, I hope this happens to you, and I'm just kidding. No. As a servitor, you have to understand that the universe doesn't understand jokes. The universe understands energy, and your words are energy. So if you say something, it's just like with yourself. If you constantly try the shit at home if you want. Tell yourself, I'm sad. Tell yourself that shit like 3 more times, and watch literally the day goes by and you're just realizing, holy shit, by the end of the day, you're realizing, holy shit, I'm sad. Try it so you can see. Keep on telling yourself you're sad. Now, then try saying, I'm happy. I'm always happy. You know, you're gonna start to feel that shit. What else? Minding your actions. Oof, this is a good one. When I say minding your actions, I mean, you should know that everything that you do is with intent or should be with intent. So if you're hugging somebody, have the intent that that hug is gonna heal them. You know, when you are cooking something for someone, have the intent that you are cooking them with love. You're cooking it with love. You're cooking it for good health. You know what I mean? And add some herbs that, you know, obviously include that. When I say watch your mind, everyone in Vudu knows that you can curse with your mind. It doesn't have to be with actions or with your words. The mind is the most powerful thing. It is the seat of the soul. All spells and all hexes can be done in the mind without having to use your hands or your words. Everybody should know that by now. I've done it. I've given the evil eye with just my mind. You know what I mean? I have said and done shit, you know, to ruin someone's life. Yes, I have. And most witches have too. Sometimes they would even desire for someone to hit them up, and boom, that person just hits them up. The mind is a very powerful thing, and we are all connected spiritually by our minds. So as a servitor, you want to always make sure that you are thinking positively, that you are thinking positively about yourself, about others, and even about situations, okay? It not only helps you to calm down and relieve anxiety so that you can become a problem solver, it also helps you become a bigger critical thinker. And being a good critical thinker is important, especially in this religion, because you shouldn't be deceived or listen to every advice given to you if it does not A, make sense, or B, is real to you. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if someone says, oh, that statue over there speaks, and you go to that statue and that statue ain't speaking, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that statue just doesn't speak. So it's just things like that. Because you don't ever want to be deceived by people. So it needs to be logical and it needs to be real. Meaning accepted by many or by most. What else? As a good servitor, my second point is, do not lie. There's no need to lie. Okay, I'm a very confrontational person and a lot of people hate that about me. Simply because I do not like lies and I do not lie to anyone. You know what I mean? It's just no point. Whether I hurt your feelings, that's not my problem. I will always be honest with you. You know what I mean? So, and as a servitor, you never want to lie to your loa because they know everything. And I've just learned to be honest just because they are very honest with me. My loa have always been honest with me. They've always taught me honesty. You know what I mean? They've always showed me the error of lying. So you never want to lie to your friends, family, or even your loa because your loa will always know the truth. And the last point is take care of yourself. Do not leave your life at the altar. Your altar is not your life, okay? Live your life. And not everything is also spiritual. I know a lot of people can easily become fanatics to believe that, you know, everything has a spiritual connection. Yes, we are all connected spiritually, but you got to give yourself a break, okay? And there is also, you know, that separation. But I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this informative video. Take care.